Good morning to you. I'm Jeff Slakey. Happy to have in studio Conversations Weekly with Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury. And today he's brought in from Computer Creations Northwest, Troy Jasmin. Morning, guys.
Morning.
Morning.
How are you doing?
Good.
Both of you guys. Good to
Doing
see
great.
you.
Doing great.
Big weekend. Let's go back and talk a little bit about the weekend. I know you got us some stuff to talk about first. But, Troy, I saw you around the old Fill the Truck 2 campaign. Saw you helping out.
Yeah.
What a great day
Oh, it's phenomenal.
to see all the folks giving back to all the schools and the school districts in the county.
It was just, it was overwhelming. When Don got a hold of me again to do it a second time for North Mason, I was like instantly, oh yeah, absolutely, I'll get involved. And we really wanted to push it as much as we can. And then when I saw her post that she was going to be on the news, I knew right away this thing was going to explode. And she's like, well, I'll get some exposure. I think this will be great, And then talking to her and Jenny, it just started growing and growing. And then I started getting phone calls for, hey, can I donate this? Or what do they need? And, could we get involved? And, I started handing that stuff off. And then when I showed up with a trailer full of stuff from North Mason, I was like, hey, I got a full trailer. This is great. I'm at capacity. I drive up, and the Walmart area is completely full. Mm-hmm. And funny enough, they didn't have a forklift there, but somebody had delivered an entire pallet of top ramen. I mean, a massive pallet. You know how light that stuff is, right? Yeah, it took 5 of us to lift the entire pallet up off the ground and use ourselves as the forklift. But just that feeling of bringing that stuff in and donating stuff from used clothes to brand new clothes to the food supplies, and then seeing it all at the warehouse. Pictures don't do the justice. I was like, wow, okay, that's Lynch. I don't know how big the building is. I drove over there to start picking up stuff for North Mason Resources, North Mason Food Bank, and Community Lifeline. And we've got Crossroads and Turning Point. Those initially were just going to be smaller baskets.
Yeah.
No, we got pallets for them because we've already gone out to all the schools, already gone out to all the families in need, and then there's still some. So Lynch gave them the facility for a couple weeks because when you walk in there, they're still trying to, it's going to take 3-4 days more of multiple people to continue to separate stuff.
Such a great thing to see.
I mean, it was just made the hair stand up. When you walk in there, it's just so odd.
Really amazing. Really
outstanding.
amazing.
That's good stuff.
Superwomen is what they called them, and I thought that was great.
That was very apt. Very
was
apt
perfect.
description.
Yeah.
All right,
Awesome.
Sheriff Casey Salisbury, talk about some crime stats and some things that have been going on lately?
Yeah, I just before that, to go back on what you guys were talking about, I'm probably one of the few people that actually I attended the Shelton schools. Yeah. And then I also was a teacher here.
Yeah.
And so I can tell you from that perspective and perspective of a public servant, that we truly have people that need that.
Oh,
and what that means, and I understand when you say how you feel to be able to contribute to that, because it's really important. And I always find it interesting in a community like ours that we may not have everything a lot of the big cities have, but I think what we have more than what anybody has is people that give.
Oh, yeah.
And for a community that doesn't have a whole lot, it's a community that gives a whole lot. And I think that's really impressive to say about the people in our community. So that's a great thing.
You guys are right on the front line. I mean, we see it kind of, unless you're really involved with the groups, kind of an ancillary thing. You hand off donations, but you don't really get a sense. I mean, you guys see a lot of this on a day-to-day basis of the kids who are in need, and a lot of folks who are homeless and unable to find homes at night.
Yes.
And my gosh,
yeah,
amazing.
every day there's something like that going on. But those type of things, those donations that people put in there, no matter what it is that got put in there, there's somebody that has a use for that somewhere. Mm-hmm. There will be a niche, a person that's looking for just that very thing, and it makes a huge difference in our community to support those folks that are in need, and especially when we look at the number of kids that we have in our county, countywide. I won't pick any place that are free and reduced lunch and things like that. It's extremely high here, and so to have those things that they might not otherwise have, thank you so much to everyone for doing that. It's a great thing.
What else are we going to talk about here this morning?
Well, the reason I brought Troy here, and you already you mentioned Troy's business, but Troy also does a lot of work for the sheriff's office. And one of the things that comes up a lot of times when I first came here, especially, people would tell me about, there's our crime wave in my neighborhood, and I'd hear all about it. And we'd have to go back and look at things and find out that there really isn't a crime wave in the neighborhood. And we wanted to be able to keep track of really what is going on. Generally what happens, not always, but generally what happens is somebody starts telling me about the crime wave in the neighborhood. Well, it's 10 people talking about one crime, not about one incident that happened. And then all of a sudden it becomes that there's 10 of them because there's 10 people talking. We have dispelled so many myths and rumors over the years. And now Troy has come in and helped us out to where we have it's automated. We can tell what's happening where. And when people tell me there's been a whole bunch of crimes, we can actually look up generally what it was. And then I oftentimes have people tell me that they've called and called and called and called and called and called, and nobody's done anything.
Sure.
Well, the fact is we can go back and look if you've called or not. And many of those people that say that indeed have not called, or they've called once and that was it, and it was a minor thing. So now we're tracking that accurately, and it makes a big difference for our community where we look at assigning our people and where we try to areas that we try to infiltrate. And you've asked about it before about the difference. The piece that I want to throw in again is that years ago we made a prediction that if we had an office in the north end and we had adequate staffing, that our crime rate would come down. And I'll let Troy talk about actual numbers, but it was almost a 30% drop over the last few years when we did that. But the reason that occurred was at that time we had the funding to outsource people from our jail. Our jail isn't big enough.
Right.
We were able to outsource to other communities, to other community jails, and we were able to hold people accountable. Now, with the budget the way it is, our jail's full.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am predicting, and not that I want it to go there, but if you can't hold people accountable, we're right back to where we were in almost in the 1990s again, without the ability to outsource. So I'm watching these numbers is going to be a big thing for us and what's going to start happening, the trends. So I'll let Troy talk about our current numbers and what's going on.
Yeah, Troy, tell us a little bit about this. Can you, and so for folks can see some of these stats too on the website, the new county website.
Yeah, so every time there is a dispatch call, it's a case is taken. That's entered into our dispatch system called Spillman. That instantly, depending on the parameters and the type and the code used for those cases, instantly goes into our crime stats database. And so, and when I say instantly, we can make it even quicker on the website, but right now we've got it set to 24 hours, but it updates every 15 minutes for us. So if and when I say 24 hours, it's midnight to midnight is how the system works. So you could literally see the stats change 15 minutes after midnight.
Wow.
And what that does is we hold breakfasts every Thursday, the first Thursday of every month, and we get a lot of the communities come in and they talk about crime stats that they're seeing through Facebook, through social media, through neighborhood watch programs. And so we'll listen to what they have to say, and we'll go and pull up those stats for that. And a lot of times I'll do it right there. And they're like, whoa, you've got that available? With I say, yeah, don't need a patrol car to do it. I can do it right here. You can do it too if you don't believe me. And so on our website, we integrated this tool into the Sheriff's Office website. And I say we and our because I do take ownership in what I do.
Sure.
And I have a history of working in the law enforcement community, so I take pride in what I do. So when these crime stats were added to the website, we did actually see an increase of traffic, and the misnomers of information kind of started going down.
I bet.
So we've been focusing on that, and so what we wanted to talk about today with the change in the crime stats. So right now we have a 24, 7, 14, and 90-day crime stats.
Okay.
So as an example, I want to show you how crime stats vary, and it's phenomenal how they can change. So 90 days ago, if you go to our website, and anybody can go to masoncountysheriff.us, scroll down just a little bit, there's a big button that says crime stats. You go to that website. From there, you can pick in the upper left-hand corner how many days you want, and then down below, you put a check mark next to the incidents that are important to you.
Sure.
And down below, we'll show a map of where those are actually at. And you'll be amazed how you can instantly, just by pulling that up, go, oh, this is misinformation I've seen on Facebook. This is not true.
Isn't that something?
So as a vandalism, that's a pretty key one in our community. It can be for anything from a sign to tagging to property vandalism. So 90 days ago, we had a 90-day comparison. We were actually down 31%. And a lot of this was towards the North County. We do have a lot of patrols out there. They're visible, and it's come down quite a bit. Now, you jump 14 days.
Okay.
And we went up 23%. And the reason why is if you look at the jump between 90 and 14 days, and then you look at our I don't want to say it as a direct impact, but there were some releases in between there for things that we couldn't deal with through the jail system. And so that changed some things. So we looked at those stats. And then if you just go 7 days from now, we're down 85%.
And we've talked about these percentages and how tricky they
And that's what I like
they
to
can get
mention.
tricky, right? So as a perfect example, last night we looked at an area that had a couple burglaries, and the Facebook was kind of blowing up about people commenting that we're having a big crime wave out here, and I think it's out by Lake Arrow, I think is the name of it, and they were saying that there were a lot of things happening in the neighborhood. Well, actually, we had 3 burglaries that were reported. But through a community partnership with the Sheriff's Office and the Homeowner Association, it only took 24 hours on those crime stats, and it looked like we had a big rush. What happened was one person called in. A few hours later, the next door neighbor called in that they had somebody had burglarized their backyard. But the next morning, when those stats changed, that 24 hours, the person was back. But they weren't actually committing a burglary, but it was created as a burglary because they caught the person that did the other 2. And it was through community partnerships that created that. But because that one extra stat was in there, which was not actually a home invasion or a break-in or anything, or a burglary, it was actually coded as a burglary because they actually apprehended the person in conjunction with those. So that made our stats look like we only were down 4%, when in reality you take that off, we're actually down 23%.
Sure.
So that's where the misnomers go. So we wanted to make sure that people understand that if you look at the stats, you can actually look right down to the neighborhood. You can click on the stat for that neighborhood. You can click on the case. It'll give you a case number. And if you really, really want to know more information about it, you can do it through our website, through public information requests. But all that information is there. And I think the biggest thing that's helped us is social media. We've made when I came aboard in April, we had about 3,000 people on social media, and it was not an active site.
Right.
So we added, we had Twitter and we had Instagram. We weren't really utilizing it, so we put it all together. I taught them how to use a tool called Hootsuite, which now pushes our social media out. Over a few months, we did some training, and all of a sudden, it took off. We are now at, as of this morning, here it is. Our Facebook is now at 5,905 people.
Wow, that's great.
We have, it's an inbound only, so we don't actually respond on there because you can
about that.
you can get into things on that. And then, bigger agencies, we're asked why we don't. Well, bigger agencies like Seattle, they have over 20 people dedicated to social media communication alone.
Yeah.
We don't have the staffing nor the budget for that. So we have a Twitter account. All of these, if anybody's interested in following us, our Twitter, our Instagram, and our Facebook, we redid them so they're all the same. So Twitter is at Mason Co Sheriff. Facebook is facebook.com/Mason Co Sheriff. And our Instagram is at Mason Co Sheriff. So that it was very easy to find us.
Very easy.
So with our Twitter, when we started out, we actually only had 518 people in April. We now have 4,453 people. We've done 2,835 posts or tweets. Before that, we only had 115 as of April.
Oh my gosh.
It is really important that we've pushed our social media and that we've gotten those stats out there because it has helped us. We also have on the website the automated notification for all of our press releases. You can go to our website at the very bottom, subscribe with just your email address. It is not shared with anybody. It is in-house only. And as soon as we have a press release, whether it's missing person, found property, or a general press release, it could be anything, even when the sheriff is swearing someone new in. That information's on there. But the crime stats are really important to us because we can define what's happening. And with the change at the jail and the change in the budget, these will be very important to us. And the fact that they are up to the minute almost for us, it allows the Sheriff's Department to look at that information, look at our social media, and really give the true facts to the public of what's happening and what could happen.
That's incredibly important, because there are other community leaders that put these information out there and it's not coming from us and it's not accurate. And I think one of the things is that was interesting for me when I came here in 2007. I had worked for another agency, and I wanted to come back here because I looked at some things that were happening in the community I live, and I felt like we needed to upgrade. We were 15, 20 years behind in everything. We'd had computers in my other agency for 15 years, and we didn't have them here at all in the sheriff's office. Well, we finally have moved forward on that. It does cost money. So when you hear me in there arguing for things, people want to see these kind of numbers. They want to be able to look at this. It isn't free either. And so when I'm in there arguing for budget thing, look what it does for our community information. And there have been areas that we've been many years behind. I hired a new jail chief. We're 20 years behind Lewis County in a lot of ways. Well, we've caught up in a lot of those areas. And things like this, I will tell you that since Troy's come on with us and started to put these together, we're far exceeding what most agencies in the state are doing. We're actually getting out more information and better information than many, many agencies that are much larger than us across the state of Washington. The other thing to be mindful of, because I get some people that call me every once in a while and they're concerned about something that they see. There is a Mason County, Texas.
Yeah.
And people throw in their Mason County and they see something occurring. They don't even bother to read that it's occurring in Texas, and they're calling the office wanting to know what's going on. So remember, it's important how you put things in, because you're reading the correct articles. And the last piece on that is every once in a while you'll see something, like Troy says on a crime rate. I used to be a science teacher, and we used to teach all this kind of stuff to kids when you're doing experiments. And if sometimes a small change is 100% change. If you have no arsons last year and you have one this year, it shows 100%. And people are like, oh my gosh.
End of the world.
Then I say, go compare us to the other counties around us and our crime rates, what they are compared to the other counties around us and what's happening. Look in the larger cities. Every night there's something going on, and it's tremendous compared to what we have. So we're doing real well. I just liked the piece that I like behind this, and why I wanted Troy here is that it's an accurate information. It's not hearsay out there coming from another agency head or somebody else in the county. It's coming in, and the database is coming in from those that actually call. They're actually put in, not talk. And so it really, really helps us to focus in areas that we really may have an issue going on. We can accurately look at that and put our people in position to do a better job.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there. I know you did bring the teddy bear in as well to talk about the polar plunge next week, so we're going to have to talk about that on Monday. But Casey Salisbury, Mason County Sheriff, from Computer Creations Northwest, Troy Jasmin here right up to 8 o'clock at iFiber One News Radio. But again, we'll be talking about that polar plunge coming up in a little bit. Troy, thanks for coming in. Good to see you this morning.
Thanks.
Casey, good to see you.
Thank you.
Do you know you have access to the fastest internet in Washington State? Switch to iFiber Communications right now and take advantage of our special offers. Pay only $29.95 for 100 megabit high-speed internet, or get 3 months of internet absolutely free. That's right, $29.95 for 100 megabit speeds or 3 months of internet free. Shop, stream, and game like never before with iFiber Communications high-speed internet. Call 360-427-4000 or check us online at ifiber.tv. Subject to credit approval, valid on a 24-month contract.